I am the personal bodyguard of the rebellious school beauty. Every time she makes a mistake, I get beaten up. After being beaten to a pulp once again, I couldn't help but burst into her room to show her my injuries. I hoped she would have a little conscience and let me suffer less. She reached out and lifted my chin, her eyes flickering with a rare seriousness as she said, "Don't want to get beaten? Then be my man." At that moment, I realized she was the mastermind behind it all. I was stunned. I couldn't believe my ears. The next second, I didn't bother to get dressed properly and scrambled out of Jiang Wanyue's room. What was the difference between being her man and seeking death? When I was a child, I was lost on the streets, and it was Grandpa Jiang who brought me home, allowing me to stay by his side. Over the years, my interactions with Jiang Wanyue had been limited. However, I had heard many rumors about her and the Jiang family. On the surface, Miss Jiang was the pure school beauty, but privately she was a dark, twisted soul. She loved to torment men, and it was said that at night, screams from men could often be heard coming from her basement. I originally thought it was just for fun, but unexpectedly, Jiang Wanyue specifically named me as her personal bodyguard, and Grandpa Jiang nodded in agreement. Grandpa Jiang told me, "Huaichuan, take good care of the young lady. It's also a chance to experience campus life." The Jiang family had a comprehensive education system, and I would only go to school for graduation tests. The rest of the time was spent training and studying at the ancestral home. The children of the Jiang family, on the other hand, had been attending prestigious schools from a young age to build connections and resources. Having me look after Jiang Wanyue was essentially allowing me to bear the punishment if she made any mistakes. Unfortunately, Jiang Wanyue was a rebellious girl who loved to hang out in nightclubs, smoke, drink, and fight. Moreover, she was also fond of various thrilling activities like skydiving, racing on mountain roads, and deep-sea diving. If I couldn't manage her, my back would continually bear the scars, while her eyes sparkled with excitement at those bloody wounds. I even suspected that she intentionally made mistakes just to see me get beaten. Now she had actually taken an interest in me, so I couldn't stay there for another moment. I ran straight to Grandpa Jiang's study to express my intentions. "Grandpa, I can't stay by the young lady's side any longer. She seems to have taken a liking to me. I have never forgotten your kindness over the years, but I really can't stay in the Jiang family any longer." Grandpa Jiang put down the brush he was holding and calmly looked me over. Then he said in a deep voice, "If you want to leave the Jiang family, I won't stop you. You have done a lot for the Jiang family over the years." Then, he suddenly changed the subject. "But are you sure you want to leave Wanyue?" I nodded vigorously. Absolutely certain. With the way Jiang Wanyue tormented men, I might be finished within a few days. I initially thought I only needed to accompany her to and from school and protect her safety. Now that she had developed feelings for me, I had to escape as quickly as possible, without a moment's hesitation. Grandpa Jiang nodded with a kind expression, then turned his back to me at the window. He seemed to reminisce as he said, "In the past, we focused on our careers and didn't pay much attention to Wanyue's situation. It wasn't until she reached adulthood that we realized something was off with her mentally, but it was already too late." I was well aware of this. Having been with Grandpa Jiang all these years, he was almost solely focused on work. He had taken a hands-off approach to Jiang Wanyue's upbringing. However, I didn't understand why he was saying this to me now. Was he trying to tug at my heartstrings to make me stay? Just then, Grandpa Jiang turned to me and said something astonishing. "Huaichuan, you might not know, but Wanyu always gets what she wants. If she can't have it, she'll destroy it." My heart skipped a beat. At school, I personally witnessed Jiang Wanyu torment a green tea into madness. In bars, I saw her smash people over the head with bottles, leaving them lying on the ground, their lives uncertain. Even during mountain races, watching someone crash into the mountain and their car explode, her eyes would gleam with excitement. She has taken a liking to me. If I don't comply, will my end be even more tragic than theirs? Thinking this, my breathing became rapid. My heart pounded violently. Observing the change in my expression, Old Man Jiang calmly asked, "Do you still want to leave?" I thought for a moment, but still nodded firmly, yes. No matter how powerful the Jiang family is, they shouldn't be able to find me even if I flee to the ends of the earth. Old Man Jiang's gaze flickered with complex emotions, but he finally nodded slightly. "Then you better run fast." Upon hearing that, I almost lost my balance. After leaving Old Man Jiang's study, I didn't even bother packing my luggage. I grabbed my ID, bank card, and some cash, and fled from the Jiang family like I was being chased. However, as I stepped out of the Jiang family manor gates, I felt a chilling gaze locking onto me. Even though it was only early autumn, my body shivered. Thinking this, I quickly jumped into the car I had called in advance. Only when the car was far away from the Jiang family manor did my heart begin to calm down a little. I just didn't know when Jiang Wanyu would discover my secret departure. Over the years I had spent at the Jiang family, I had saved up quite a bit of money. Some of it was even given to me by Jiang Wanyu when she was in a good mood. Thinking about it, if she hadn't set her sights on me, being by her side wouldn't have been too bad. After multiple transfers, I ran from the north to a coastal town in the south. I wouldn't encounter anyone I used to know here, and those young masters and ladies I used to deal with wouldn't come here either. I found a place to live and got a new phone number. All of this was done to escape Jiang Wanyu. Old man Zhang's words before I left had truly terrified me. I was afraid that Jiang Wanyu had actually fallen in love with me, but then she discovered I had quietly escaped from under her nose. Enraged, she would order a carpet search to capture me and bring me home. Then she would use all sorts of methods and torture me, and eventually realize I still wouldn't yield. Then, she would cruelly kill me and scatter my ashes into the sea. Thinking about it, I suddenly shivered. I rented an old house by the sea. It was rather remote, and I didn't seem to see any security cameras on the road. But despite this, I still didn't dare to go out on the first day. The second and third days were the same. It wasn't until the fourth day, when I was really starving, that I cautiously went to the town's small supermarket to stock up on food. But because I felt so guilty, the people at the supermarket thought I was there to steal things and almost sent me to the police station. A week later, I started tentatively taking walks in the vicinity and didn't notice anything suspicious along the way. There weren't even many people on the road, so I was convinced I had escaped this ordeal. Since that was the case, then I would start my new life in this sparsely populated town. After a year or two, when Jiang Wanyu had completely forgotten about me, I'd find a better place to settle down. In the end, I was really just a coward. Having witnessed Jiang Wanyu's methods and the power of the Jiang family behind her, it was not something someone like me could afford to provoke. The only thing I could do was avoid them at all costs. The small town had a small population, and the air was clean and fresh. I started strolling on the beach and happened to meet an uncle who loved to fish. He told me that the town was remote and economically underdeveloped. So many people had left. But his family had always stayed here, living a simple and peaceful life. Every time the fishing uncle talked about his family, his face was filled with a happy smile. He said he had a son and a daughter, both very obedient and sensible. His wife was also a virtuous and family-oriented woman, and they had loved each other for decades. Whenever I heard this, I felt very envious, because I had never experienced the warmth of a family. I grew up in an orphanage, and later when the orphanage was abandoned, I wandered the streets until Grandpa Jiang brought me home. I had also never experienced the taste of love and didn't understand what it felt like to love someone for decades. When the uncle learned that I lived alone, he often invited me to his house for dinner. Watching their family live harmoniously, my repressed mood improved a lot. This pleasant life lasted for more than a month. I was almost forgetting about Jiang Wanyu's existence. Logically, with the Jiang family's power, if they couldn't find me after so long, they really shouldn't be able to find me. It seemed Jiang Wanyu had found a new toy and didn't care about my existence at all. Thinking of this, I leaned back lazily on the recliner, looking at the calm sea, feeling a surge of joy in my heart. When I went home facing the sunset, I found that something seemed wrong with my house. Through the window, I seemed to see shadows flashing. So, I picked up a wooden stick and cautiously walked towards the house. Before I could even open the door, 7 or 8 men in black suits burst out from inside. They surrounded me, and the next second they rushed to subdue me. But I had been trained in the Jiang family since childhood, and I was a top expert even among the Jiang family's bodyguards. After a fierce fight, I knocked down 4 or 5 of them. But then I happened to see the uncle's little daughter standing not far away, seemingly planning to call me to her house for dinner. In that moment of distraction, I took a blow to the head and instantly fell to the ground, where they tied me up. The little girl ran away crying, and I was carried into the house by a group of tough men. On the sofa in the living room, Jiang Wenyue sat with her legs crossed, swirling a glass of red wine in her hand, looking down at me with a condescending gaze. Her face didn't show any expression, but I felt like she was very angry. My body trembled slightly. I really had a physiological fear of Jiang Wenyue. I didn't expect that after so long and running so far, I would still be found by her in the end. She looked at me coldly for a long time and finally waved all the men in suits out of the room, and I was untied as well. Even so, I still didn't dare to act rashly. Not to mention the large group of skilled bodyguards outside the door. Even if it was just Jiang Wenyue alone, I would never dare to touch her. Otherwise, the Jiang family's revenge would make my death even more gruesome. Come over, kneel down. Her unquestionable tone made me subconsciously walk in front of her and kneel down. In front of her, I seemed to never have the right to resist. You refused to drink the wine I gave you that day. How is it that you accept the wine given by others so readily? I immediately frowned, extremely astonished in my heart. Could it be that I had been under surveillance all these days, and I hadn't even noticed it? But after so many years of training, I believed that my counter-surveillance ability was definitely not weak. Jiang Wenyue saw what I was thinking and scoffed with disdain. You wouldn't think that you were chosen to be my personal bodyguard because of your strength, would you? There are too many people in the family who are more powerful than you. I knew when you secretly left the Jiang family's gate. If I wanted to kill you these past few days, you wouldn't even know how you died. Drink the wine, she said coldly, holding the glass to my tightly closed lips. But I didn't dare to drink, worried that she would poison the wine. Actually, I didn't like to drink because Jiang Wenyue liked to go to bars, and she would always cause trouble after drinking. As a result, I would be punished by family law, so I had some resistance to alcohol. But this bottle of wine was given to me by the fishing uncle. He said that meeting was fate, and he gave it to me as a gift. They treat me well, so I can't refuse their kindness. Seeing that I wouldn't drink, she pinched my chin, pried my mouth open, and poured the wine in. I choked, coughing repeatedly, dark red wine dribbling from the corners of my mouth. Can't you just listen a little? Jiang Wenyue raised an eyebrow, her red high heels pressing on my leg, grinding it with just the right amount of pressure. I immediately frowned, wanting to resist and look up, but met Jiang Wenyue's cold gaze. She looked down at me, her flickering eyes seemingly restraining something. Just as I was reaching my breaking point, she finally withdrew her foot. At this moment, my back was already soaked with sweat, and I had a feeling of having survived a disaster. She slowly opened the box beside her, which was filled with things that would make anyone break out in a cold sweat just looking at them. I was so frightened that my body couldn't help but tremble. "Miss you can't do this." But she acted as if she hadn't heard me, her eyes scanning the contents of the box, muttering to herself. "In the month or so that you've been gone, I haven't been able to focus on school. I've just been watching you hide. If you'd even sent me a single message during that time, you wouldn't have ended up like this." I inwardly scoffed. "You weren't exactly focused on school when I was around. You know I'm hiding from you, yet you expect me to send you messages? Am I crazy?" Of course, I didn't dare say these things aloud, only to curse in my heart. She suddenly leaned close to me, hooking my chin with her fingers and looking into my eyes. She said, "I'll give you two choices. Either you go back to being my personal bodyguard, or I'll play you to death here today. Which do you choose?" As she spoke, she took out a black whip from the box, lightly slapping it against her hand. Looking at her playful eyes, I hardened my heart. I don't want to choose either. Jiang Wenyue raised an eyebrow, her face instantly darkening, and she swung the whip, striking my shoulder. Although the force wasn't great, it made me wince in pain and my forehead instantly break out in sweat. Choose or not? Not choosing. I gritted my teeth, stood up, and started to walk out. If I really had to continue to suffer torture at the hands of this she-devil, or be played to death by her in such a perverted way, then I'd rather die with a little dignity. Either just kill me, or let me go. My hand was just on the doorknob, but behind me, Jiang Wenyue's voice, laced with restrained emotion, came. "That little girl seemed to come and call you home for dinner. Do you want me to take you there?" My whole body instantly stiffened, and a wave of anger surged within me. I turned around and roared at her. "Jiang Wenyue, you're a lunatic. You're only realizing I'm a lunatic now. Jiang Wanyue chuckled twice, then beckoned to me with her finger. Kneel down and crawl over here. I stood in place glaring at Jiang Wanyue, wanting to rush over and kill her. In the end, I compromised. I was alone in this world, with nothing to hold me back. The worst that could happen was death. Maybe I could even become a vengeful ghost and come back to play Jiang Wanyue to death. But the fishing uncle's family was kind and gave me the warmth of a family. I didn't want to implicate them. I knelt on the ground and crawled toward Jiang Wanyue with no dignity. Jiang Wanyue picked up a black collar and put it around my neck. She pulled me close to her and said in a deep voice, "Lu Huichuan, you actually dare threaten me? It seems I've been too lenient with you, making you unable to distinguish your own status." I was already holding in a lot of anger, coupled with the anxiety of the past month or so, and her using my loved ones to threaten me. Hearing these words, I couldn't hold back anymore. "Jiang Wanyue, you have the nerve to say you've been lenient with me? Look at my back. Is there even a single piece of good flesh left? It's all because of you, damn it. I begged you not to make trouble, but you wouldn't listen. Now you have the nerve to say you're spoiling me. I have absolutely no interest in the twisted stuff you play. Can't you find someone like you to play with?" It's unclear which words triggered Jiang Liyue, but her eyes instantly turned red, and she raised her hand, landing a resounding slap across my face. "Lu Huichuan, you got a death wish." She suddenly pushed me down, one hand clamping around my throat. Her voice was ice cold as she said, "You hate me, don't you? Then I'll make sure you never forget me." With that, she forcefully kissed me, her tongue invading my mouth with unrestrained aggression. I struggled desperately to push her away, but I found the strength in my body seemingly draining away. The wine she made me drink earlier was indeed drugged. She never intended to let me go. Her grip on my throat was tight, making me feel like I was suffocating. She continued to take what she wanted from me, even biting my lip, filling my mouth with a metallic taste. In the chaos, I bit her tongue. She recoiled in pain and stood up abruptly, and seeing my unwilling expression, she slapped me again. "Do you detest me that much?" She looked at me with a gloomy face, and if it wasn't my imagination, I saw a hint of sadness and resentment in her eyes. I clenched my teeth, not saying a word. "Then I'll keep you by my side." With that, she got up and had someone come in to take me away. The private jet quickly brought us back to the Jiang family mansion. Old man Jiang seemed to have been waiting for a long time, the look on his face suggesting he already knew I would be brought back. "Huichuan, you've been hiding for so long. You've become quite impressive." He looked at me with a gentle smile, but I couldn't bring myself to smile back. Being brought back to the Jiang family again, my heart was already dead. I had thought that after coming back, she would go to extreme lengths to punish me for running away and threatening her. But surprisingly, she didn't even have me continue as her personal bodyguard. And I still went back to school normally, while Jiang Wanyue was constantly causing trouble outside, drinking and racing. But because I was no longer her bodyguard, I didn't have to bear the consequences anymore. Although I don't know what she was thinking, my days were going smoothly. I even made many friends at school, but every time I went home and saw Jiang Liyue, her face was terribly gloomy. Passing by her, I felt like I was plunged into freezing temperatures. As they say, 1 second you're laughing, the next you're not. I thought it was Grandpa Jiang who couldn't bear it anymore and came forward to protect me. So I thought I could live a stable life from now on, but unexpectedly, after only a week, that kind of life was shattered. That night, Jiang Liyue knocked on my door. Her whole body was exuding alcohol, and with blurred eyes, she pushed me over. I was startled by Jiang Liyue's actions. She was still like before, pinching my neck and gritting her teeth, saying, "Lu Huichuan, isn't it great not being by my side? Have you forgotten your identity as my bodyguard? I go out to fight and race, and you don't even come to look after me? Do you know, I miss you so much every day that I can't sleep, but you sleep like a pig. Don't you have any conscience?" I stared at her slightly red eyes for a moment. But to be honest, I did have a great time when I wasn't by her side. Plus, I could freely experience campus life and didn't have to get beaten up all the time. So it's only natural that I slept a little better at night. But of course, I wouldn't dare say these things to Jiang Liyue. And she was so drunk, she probably wouldn't even understand anything I said anyway. "Miss, let me take you back to your room to rest." I gently took her hand away, wanted to get up and send her away. But her eyebrows shot up, and she grabbed my neck again, coldly saying, Lu Huichuan, you just don't want to see me that much? I fucking said I miss you so much I can't sleep. Can't you understand? I'm telling you, you're mine for life, and you'll never escape my grasp. After she finished speaking, she forcefully kissed me again. I struggled to push her away. She looked at me with her eyes flickering, the corner of her mouth turned up into a cold smile. Lu Huichuan, if you dare to move again, I don't mind having a chat with that family. I knew. She was talking about the old fishing man's family. You're despicable. Even though I said that, I didn't dare to move my body anymore. She kissed me again, her tongue wantonly exploring my mouth, and when I was almost suffocating, she let go. She fell asleep in my arms. I looked down at her sleeping face and realized that when she wasn't acting crazy, she actually looked quite docile. Except, she was a madwoman. I didn't dare to move and let her sleep in my arms all night. The next day, she arranged for me to come back to her side as her personal bodyguard. I knew that they definitely wouldn't let me go so easily after bringing me back to the Jiang family. But after I was by her side, she actually started to go to school on time and listen attentively in class. It's just that after school, she would still drive her sports car and take me to nightclubs. After drinking, she would still stir up trouble. It had been a long time since I had been beaten, and just thinking about the punishment I would suffer when I got home, my heart trembled a little. Even though I trained diligently, I was still just flesh and blood and could be beaten to a pulp in minutes. Perhaps my expression was seen through by Jiang Liyue. She hooked her finger at me, and when I came to her side, she leaned in and whispered in my ear, "You want to avoid getting beaten?" I instinctively wanted to nod, but thinking that she would either ask me to be her man or play some perverted games with me, I held back. She wasn't angry at my reaction. Instead, she gave a wicked smile. "Lu Huichuan, do you know why you can't persuade me?" I was slightly startled and shook my head, saying, "Because I'm not worthy. The young miss wants to do things. No one can ever interfere. What right does a mere bodyguard like me have? Whether I persuade her or not, it's the same. I'll still get beaten in the end, so I might as well not say anything." She pulled me to sit beside her, looking at her exquisite profile, her somewhat hazy eyes, and her sexy lips, wet with wine. I actually felt a sudden urge to kiss her. Her red lips parted slightly. "Because I don't like what you say. You always say to me, 'The master doesn't allow you to do this. The master said that and that.'" She turned her head, looking at me with a slight frown. "What I want to hear is, 'Young miss, don't drink, it's bad for your health. Young miss, don't go fighting. I'm worried about your safety.' If you said that, I would listen." 7. Jiang Wanyu looked at me seriously. There seemed to be some anticipation in her eyes. It was like the first time I'd seen this side of Jiang Wanyu. She was no longer the crazy, obsessive young lady. Instead, she looked like a little girl yearning to be loved. If saying this meant I wouldn't get beaten anymore, then I was happy to do it. So I tried saying, "Young miss, drinking is bad for your health. Can you go back with me?" Jiang Wanyue's eyes curved into crescents. It was rare to see her show such a bright smile. She kissed me on the cheek out of the blue, her voice even gentler. "Okay, I'll go back with you." Jiang Wanyue indeed got up and left with me, leaving those wealthy young ladies staring blankly at each other, looking completely baffled. I drove, looking at her tipsy figure in the rearview mirror, remembering that tomorrow she was going to race cars up the mountain with the young masters and misses. So I tried saying, "Young miss, racing cars is dangerous. I'm worried about your safety. Can you not go?" After saying that, I saw Jiang Wanyue's eyes narrow, revealing a smile that wasn't quite a smile. I was so scared that I shrunk back my neck. It seemed like I had gone too far. She might just have been teasing me because she had drunk some wine, and I was taking advantage of the situation. Thinking of this, I wanted to say something to make up for it, but Jiang Wanyu laughed. She looked at me with curved eyes, looking like she was in a good mood. "Lu Huichuan, you should have been like this a long time ago. I like being controlled by you like this. You have to be like this from now on. Got it?" I looked at the rearview mirror and nodded subconsciously. I didn't know if it was the night that made emotions run wild, or if Jiang Wanyue, the terrifying devil that everyone feared, had suddenly become obedient. The defenses I had built up against her in my heart seemed to be crumbling away bit by bit. The centennial celebration of Nanjing University invited the famous figures from all walks of life in Nanjing to attend. Nanjing University was built with the full support of the Jiang family, and they have been vigorously promoting its development over the years. The Jiang family holds a pivotal position on the board of directors. I accompanied Jiang Wanyue to the ball, and in this kind of setting, she was always an incomparably noble princess. Composed and elegant, you couldn't tell how crazy she was in private. Facing those wealthy young masters' advances, she always showed a cold and aloof demeanor. She told me that those young masters looked refined and gentlemanly, but privately they were more promiscuous than anyone else. After hearing that, I secretly said in my heart, "You're not much different. Don't act like you're better than them." Later, old Master Jiang called her away. She looked at me and said, "You don't need to follow me for now. Just walk around by yourself. I'll come find you later when I'm done." After speaking, she left with old Master Jiang. I was bored, so I wandered aimlessly in the huge banquet hall. Unexpectedly, I ran into the young master of the Jiang family in a corner. It was said that he had admired Jiang Wanyue since childhood and even proposed a marriage alliance to the Jiang family. He was dressed in a custom suit, hands in his pockets, looking at me with a cold and aloof expression. "Are you the little bodyguard by Wanyue's side? I heard from the Jiang family servants that you climbed into Wanyue's bed and sleep together every day. Is that true?" As he spoke, a glint of coldness flashed in his eyes. To be honest, I felt quite wronged. It was clearly Jiang Wanyue who climbed into my bed and insisted on sleeping together. Though it was true that we shared the same bed every night. Ever since the night she fell asleep in my arms, she would sneak to my bed every night, threatening me not to kick her out. But it was just simple sleeping, at most sharing the same pillow and blanket. Seeing that I remained silent, he pointed at me angrily and scolded. "Before trying to ascend to a higher position, make sure you know your own place. You're just a little bodyguard. How can Wanyue possibly fall for you? Only I, Jiang Yehe, am worthy of being with her." Upon hearing this, my eyes lit up. Right, I also think that only young Master Jiang deserves to be with my lady. However, young Master Jiang, I advise you to make your move quickly to win our lady's heart, or it might be too late. I felt as if I had grasped a lifeline, my tone slightly anxious. But unexpectedly, my heartfelt advice turned into a provocation in his eyes. Jiang Yehe frowned and glared at me, his icy tone tinged with threat. "You brat, don't get too full of yourself. Even if you climbed into Wanyue's bed, you're still nothing of note." After saying that, a smug look flashed in his eyes. "Our family patriarch is here today just to discuss a marriage alliance with old Master Jiang. It won't be long before we get married, and you will just be a clown." Hearing this news, I became even more excited. Although I didn't understand why Jiang Yehe was so eager to marry the devilish Jiang Wanyue, perhaps he had some peculiar interest. A smile appeared on my face as I said cheerfully, "That's wonderful. I wish you both all the best and for a long-lasting union." After that, I added, "By the way, when you get married, I'll give you a gift." My sincere blessings, however, made Jiang Yehe's face darken. "You dare to talk like that again? I'll kill you." After saying that, he swung his fist at me. After all, I was trained as a bodyguard and instinctively pulled his arm, executing a perfect shoulder throw. With that throw, all eyes around us turned to look. The Jiang family was, after all, a prominent family second only to the Jiang family, and Jiang Yehe's stature and pride were extremely valuable. Yet, in that moment, he was knocked down to the ground by a mere bodyguard like me. The next moment, bodyguards from the Jiang family had surrounded me, and the eldest young master of the Jiang family took the opportunity to kick me while I was unprepared. He was probably a trained fighter, kicking me several meters away. At that moment, an angry reprimand came from behind. "Young Master Jiang sure has some gall, even daring to hit my personal bodyguard." Jiang Wanyue walked over with a darkened face, her gaze coldly scanning the crowd, causing everyone to avoid eye contact. The eldest daughter of the wealthiest Jiang family was angry. Even if the Jiang family was in the right, they could only swallow their anger. Jiang Wanyue came to help me up, reproaching me displeasedly. "Weren't you claiming to be one of the top experts in the Jiang family? How could you let someone kick you away like that?" Before I could respond, Jiang Yehe, who had already been helped up, spoke first. "Wanyue, it has nothing to do with my brother. This brat attacked me first." Jiang Wanyue slowly turned her head, her tone icy as she said, "Jiang Yehe, watch your words, or don't blame me for tearing your mouth apart." Jiang Yehe was taken aback, not expecting Jiang Wanyue to defend me like that. He said with a face full of resentment, "Yeah, he's jealous that I'm about to marry you. That's why he hit me. I'm telling the truth." He heard me say that the two families were discussing marriage today, and he acted like a mad dog. Jiang Wanyue's eyes flickered with coldness, and she smiled ambiguously. "When did I ever say I agreed to this marriage proposal with you? Also, how dare you call my people mad dogs?" Seeing that Jiang Wanyue was about to explode, I quickly said, "Miss, he's right. That's exactly how it was." Jiang Wanyue abruptly turned her head to look at me, anger suppressed in her eyes, and said in a deep voice, "What did you just say?" Her aura was terrifying, but I still gritted my teeth and said, "I said, it was me who hit him after hearing him say you were going to get married." The next second, her hand pinched my chin, as if she was going to crush my bones. "Lu Huichuan, do you want to leave me that much?" She no longer restrained the anger in her eyes, spitting out each word through gritted teeth. I had understood everything just now, so I planned to use this opportunity to break away from the Jiang family. After all, in this kind of situation, I admitted that I had made a mistake and ruined the marriage alliance between the two powerful families. In order to maintain face, the Jiang family would definitely drive me out, and then Jiang Wanyue wouldn't be able to keep me. She understood this point as well. That's why she was so furious with me. I saw Jiang Wanyue's eyes turning increasingly red, but it seemed to be more sadness than anger. When she asked me that question, I felt a stabbing pain in my heart. But I was clear in my heart that I wanted to escape from her side, not wanting to be her toy or a dog without dignity anymore. I nodded seriously and said, "Yes, I want to leave you. Please let me go." Jiang Wanyue suddenly burst into crazy laughter, then grabbed my collar and dragged me outside. She dragged me to the lakeside of the school. Along the way, I kept thinking, could she be so enraged that she was going to kill me and throw my body into the lake to feed the fish? Thinking of this, my body trembled uncontrollably. I quickly begged for mercy. "Miss, I know I was wrong. Please calm down." As soon as I finished speaking, she suddenly turned her head back and pressed down on me in a chaotic kiss. I didn't dare to provoke her any further, so I had no choice but to let her kiss and bite me. She kissed me roughly for a long time, until my mouth was full of blood, and I couldn't tell whose it was anymore. "Lu Huichuan, you really don't want to stay by my side, do you?" She looked at me with red eyes, her eyes seeming to be filled with tears. I didn't know how to answer. Her emotions were unstable now, and I didn't know what she would do if I provoked her further. But I didn't want to answer against my will either, because I really wanted to leave her. It was just that looking at her eyes, which seemed to be expecting me to stay, I actually felt a little heartache, and even had the thought that staying by her side might not be bad. Seeing that I didn't speak, she gave a bright smile and shouted at me, pointing her finger, "Lu Huichuan, get out of here. I don't want to see you again." With that, she turned and was about to leave. Looking at her back, my heart actually started to ache more and more. Could it be that I couldn't bear to leave her? I had never been in love before, so I wasn't sure about my own heart. Just as I was thinking, Jiang Wanyue suddenly stopped her steps and rushed towards me. I didn't understand why, and in the next second, a gunshot rang out. I saw Jiang Wanyue fall into my arms, covered in blood, and in the distance, there was a commotion. I looked at the person who had just been pointing and scolding me with disbelief. Jiang Wanyue. Before long, the Jiang family members arrived, and the ambulance took Jiang Wanyue away. With the Jiang family's abilities, they quickly found out the reason behind the incident. The mastermind was Jiang Yehe. He was also a complete madman and held a grudge against me for ruining his plans. So, he sent people to assassinate me, but Jiang Wanyue took the bullet for me. Because Jiang Ye's actions were permitted by the family, the Jiang family was finished like that. After being discharged from the hospital, Jiang Wanyue returned to the Jiang family to recuperate, but she refused to see me no matter what. I came many times, but was always turned away by security. Later, she sent someone to deliver a message. "Aren't you going to leave? If you're going to scram, then get far away. And if you're worried about that family, there's no need. I never intended to touch them anyway." The security guard at the gate was my friend, and he said to me, "Bro, haven't you always wanted to leave the young miss? Now that she's telling you to go, why aren't you leaving?" I took a breath and said, if I told you that when I saw her covered in blood and unconscious in my arms, I suddenly realized that I love her, would you believe me? The security guard furrowed his brow, seemingly not understanding. To be honest, I didn't understand it myself either. So this is what love was like, such a complex emotion. Perhaps I understood it too late. Before she woke up, I didn't sleep well for a single day, and it seemed I finally understood what she had said back then. Missing someone can really keep you up all night. Maybe she really was, as the rumors said, liking to torment men with a kind of twisted obsession. But maybe love is just blind. I knew Jiang Wanyue would soften if she saw me, so I asked the security guard to pretend he hadn't seen me and let me sneak in. He looked at me for a long time and finally inexplicably took a call and walked away. The gate wasn't locked, so I quickly slipped inside. I cautiously ran to the building where Jiang Wanyue was, wondering why there were so few patrols today. When I opened Jiang Wanyue's door, I found it was completely empty. Just as I was wondering, a cold voice came from behind. Not running away? Coming here to die? I was startled and quickly turned around. Jiang Wanyue was tilting her head, looking at me with a smile that wasn't quite a smile, her eyes filled with a playful expression. I quickly softened my tone and said, no, I don't want to leave anymore. I can't sleep a wink every day I don't see you. Jiang Wanyue sneered, saying sarcastically, I bet after leaving me, you've been sleeping like a log, haven't you? I stepped forward and hugged her, saying with a bit of a spoiled tone, that's not true at all. If I don't sleep with the young miss, I can't sleep at all. Tisk! She bit me hard on my arm, and I endured without crying out in pain. After biting me, she smiled contentedly. I had managed to coax her, and it turned out the young miss was quite easy to coax. We sat on the bed, and I asked my question, young miss, have you really been with a lot of men in the past? Why am I so special to you? She rolled her eyes at me and said, there are many people I've bullied. So slowly there were a lot of rumors, and I was too lazy to clarify them. She really liked to torment men, and it was said that at night, men's screams could often be heard from her basement. Jiang. She paused in her recollection, then laughed. Many years ago, I was at a bar, and some thugs from out of town tried to drug me. You appeared just in time and saved me. Later, I saw you at the Jiang family, and you looked familiar. So I had people investigate, and found out it was you. So I told the old man that I wanted you to protect me. Over the years we spent together, I realized I was liking you more and more. But after you heard the rumors about me, you started to fear me and stopped worrying about me. I was unhappy, so I deliberately caused trouble and had you punished. But actually, I just wanted you to care about me more. If you did, I would have listened to you. I didn't expect it to be like this. I suddenly remembered many years ago when I was working part-time at a bar and happened to save a young woman who was disoriented and had stumbled into the warehouse. So you're so attached to me because I saved you? Jiang Wanyue didn't answer and kissed me for a while instead. Only then did she open her mouth and say, idiot, I already said, I've grown to like you more and more as we've gotten to know each other. Then how are you going to make up for all the beatings you've given me? I asked her with a smile, and she looked serious. Looking at me, she said, Why Chuan, let's get married. I'll listen to you from now on. I was taken aback for a moment, then nodded, okay. And don't call me young miss anymore. Jiang Wanyue looked at me with bright eyes. Call me Yiya. Yiya.